As we had talked about recently on the Young Turks, Emma Vigeland was in Florida talking to Trump supporters at a rally for DeSantis, who has a gubernatorial bid in Florida. And we showed you a number of different Trump supporters. I would argue that some of the videos that we showed you yesterday included the more animated supporters. But I wanted to give you some other examples of the people who continue to support Trump and the reasons for why they love him so much. So with that said, let's take a look at a young Trump supporter who says that he actually was against Obamacare. That was one of the things that turned him on to Trump and his presidential bid. Take a look.
I watched throughout the election, and I just felt like I couldn't vote for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump based on their experience and the reputation. And then once Donald Trump started doing what he wanted to do and really got into power, I noticed that everything that he said he was going to do, he actually did.
So what specifically did he do that spoke to you?
He reformed taxes. He, started going against Obamacare because I didn't really think that Obamacare was good for the middle class.
Do you think that Medicare for all is a good option, or do you just want private insurance?
I believe you could do something similar to Canada where it is Medicare. There is a version of Medicare for all, but then they also have the ability to have private health care if you choose to pay for it.
Hey, I feel like that's what Bernie Sanders is promoting right now.
Okay, no, I love this because right-wingers do projection. They think oh, you guys are out there trying to punk them or troll them or make fun of them. No, it's not true. What we're doing is we're putting a mic in front of people and finding out why they like Trump and asking them legitimate questions. So it's not like a Steven Crowder type of gotcha, ha 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 ha, I'm so clever and you're not. So because look at this, that's enlightening for all of us to now. Not one person doesn't represent all the Trump supporters, obviously. The crazy guy we showed you yesterday doesn't represent him. This guy doesn't, but overall you can begin to get a sense, right? By the way, you should watch that whole video and it's on Rebel HQ on YouTube and Facebook. And if you get our app, you get all of that programming really easy. Just go get TYT app to be able to watch all of it. But anyway, in earlier parts, most of the people answering were saying, why do you like Trump? He's not a regular politician. And I was thinking I knew it, man. People in Washington, they love politicians because they're their friends. But they don't, so they're incapable of seeing how much the rest of the country hates politicians. In fact, when I say that, they think I'm being uncivil. No, I'm just telling you the reality. They don't like politicians. The politicians they dislike the most are slick politicians. So when they see Donald Trump with all of his rough edges, they're like, nah, it's not a slick politician. Okay. And that part is true.
Let me just add something to that is important. So whenever Trump tweets, and as you all know, there are all sorts of misspellings, grammatical errors, lack of punctuation. The worst thing to do is to get on him for that, because that is a strategy that works with his voters, right? Because it makes him human, it makes him relatable. He's not some polished, rehearsed politician.
I know, but it's frustrating to me because, look, if you also misspell Marine Corps, that's okay, but you're not the president.
Right.
The president is supposed to be smart. It's not a thing to brag about that the guy you support is not very bright and doesn't know how to spell. So, okay, but you're right about that. They do think that makes him real. Okay, so now back to this guy. So, look, I don't sense any malice from this guy, and he really doesn't get it. So, and he doesn't have the right information. So first of all, he says Trump delivered on everything. No, he didn't, and he mainly talked about draining the swamp. And his administration is filled to the rim with corruption. But this guy probably didn't get the memo on probably 90% of the scandals that Trump's. Do you think that guy knows that Trump did a deal with the Chinese to reopen ZTE and allow them to come into the United States even though they're a national security threat because China gave $1 billion to a park in Indonesia that then gave millions of dollars to Donald Trump? He doesn't know that. If he knew that, he would probably be outraged. And then look at what he says about healthcare. He's like, I don't like Obamacare. Why? Because you're bombarded in conservative media. Obamacare is terrible. Obamacare is terrible.
But not only that, Obamacare did have massive failures.
Yeah, and it has real issues, and to be fair to him, et cetera, right? And so what system do you like? He likes the one in Canada. Oh my God, that's the one progressives want, right? And in fact, that's why Medicare for all polls at 60% or higher because a lot of Republicans and a ton of independents also really like it. Even the mainstream press, as they're attacking Medicare for all, like the Associated Press did a terrible job the other day, Wall Street Journal again did it today, etc. The AP had to begrudgingly say it is incredibly popular with independents for some reason, right? Yeah, because people want healthcare. It's not that complicated. And so to close the loop, Trump in the campaign said that he would give everyone healthcare and it would be cheaper. Now, when he went to destroy Obamacare, he did not propose an alternative. So he would not have done that. He would have done the exact opposite. But this guy, I bet you he genuinely believes that Trump's proposal would have given everyone healthcare, just like Canada, and we would have given them options.
Yeah.
But it's not remotely true.
Also, when Emma asked him to be specific in terms of what Trump did follow through on, he mentioned tax reform, which anyone who paid close attention knows that there really wasn't tax reform, there were tax cuts. So Trump promised that even if he lowers the corporate tax rate, he'd get rid of loopholes so these corporations actually pay their fair share of taxes. Because the effective taxes that corporations were paying was around 17% because of all these loopholes. Well, he didn't close those loopholes. You know what he did? He actually limited deductions that people living in blue states can take advantage of and people in the middle class can take advantage of. So for instance, if you're living in a state that has state taxes, you can no longer deduct that from your taxes.
So one last thing about that. I mean, again, it goes to, did he really deliver? In the campaign, he was smart, well, smart or otherwise. He said, hey, I'm gonna go after the loophole that allows the hedge fund and private equity guys to pay the least amount of taxes. Now that's true, that is an egregious thing. And I didn't believe him for a second because I know that he's a pathological liar and I know that he was just trying to get votes, but it is a savvy way of trying to get votes. So guys like that probably heard that and go like, oh yeah, way to go get the hedge fund guys. Did he actually do it? Of course not. He left it in there. He said he'd negotiate drug prices. Did he do that for you? Of course not. Anything that helps the rich and powerful, he lied about and never did. But they never got the memo. Yeah. That's why it's not like people make a very wrong assumption oftentimes, especially on TV. They think that the average Trump voter or the average voter, period, in the country knows all the things they know and they like Trump anyway. No, they don't know 80% of that stuff. So, and look, and it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. So let's show to the other.
Definitely a mixed bag because there are plenty of people who do know what's going on, but they support him regardless. And so the next video is an example of that. Let's take a look.
Donald Trump, being a businessman, has used his knowledge and gotten rid of the corruption that's been in Washington for a long time. He's making smart, sound decisions. Sometimes maybe not the right wording, but he's trying to run the country like a business, and he's setting us on the right path to prosperity.
You don't worry about the bankruptcies at all in his past? No.
Everybody's had problems in the past, and to become rich, you got to go through your ups and downs, and he's come out of it every time, and he's a proven winner.
See, but he doesn't know either, right? So he thinks Trump's running the country like a businessman. No, he's not. He's running it like an idiot. There's nothing that he's done that would give you a sense that he's business savvy. He doesn't know the details of the 6 bankruptcies. He doesn't know that he borrowed at a 14% interest rate, which no rational businessman would borrow at. He doesn't know that he bankrupted casinos, which is nearly impossible, right? He doesn't know that his dad actually gave him $200 million and he bungled his way through it. He doesn't know that he basically did money laundering for the Russians after the 6 bankruptcies to get himself back up on his feet. And so that he thinks, well, I don't know, he looks like a billionaire and everybody tells me he's a billionaire. He's got to be a smart businessman. He's running the country well like a businessman. None of that is true.
I think that there is a significant portion of Trump supporters who will be confronted by the very facts that you mentioned, and they will make excuses for him. That is exactly what happened when Emma mentioned the bankruptcy. He made excuses for him. Well, everybody goes through a tough time when they're trying to get rid. No, they don't. It's not common for people to go bankrupt 6 times. It's just not, after inheriting a ton of money. So anyway.
1 bankruptcy, maybe even 2, and somehow you recover. 6? The House always wins, unless it's run by Donald Trump. He destroyed one of the most rock solid principles there is, certainly in the casino and gambling world. He lost running. It's impossible what he's done. He is a buffoon. I mean, this guy, look, you're right, Anna. They make excuse after excuse. But if they knew what we know about his actual bungling, I think that they would be shocked. They would probably think, no, for one, they wouldn't believe it. They'd be like, no, you're lying, you're fake news, right? It can't be, it can't be. This guy's attached to my identity now, it can't be, right? But if you actually convince them that that was real, I think they would be dumbstruck. They'd be like, wow, really?
I don't know, I disagree with you. And we'll keep showing you videos, you guys can decide for yourselves. Let's take a look at the next one.
So what attracted you to Trump in 2016, and has he lived up to your expectations?
Absolutely, if not above and beyond, I believe.
Specifically policy-wise, what has spoken to you?
Economically, I mean, I think he's, he says what he says, and he gets it done. And I believe it, and I think maybe he might get a Nobel Prize for it too.
See, he says what he says. He doesn't like classic politicians. He might get a Nobel Prize. That's okay, no big deal. He doesn't know it's Nobel. That's no big deal at all. But why? Why does he say that? Because Trump keeps saying it, and the other Republicans say it. So he heard that Trump already solved North Korea. He's about to get a Nobel Prize because he already got peace with North Korea. But that isn't true. He got nothing out of the North Korea negotiations, and North Korea just earlier this week is building missiles. Our intelligence says they're building missiles that and they haven't stopped their nuclear program at all. But he thinks Trump's about to get a Nobel Prize.
Okay, so here's my question to you. What are members of the media supposed to do when you're dealing with a group of people who have this blind trust in a politician? Like, this is the thing that makes me feel like this job is not effective in change. And I know that's being super pessimistic, right? But on one hand, you have news outlets, take us out of the equation, just any news outlet that's credible and legitimate. You can't just state something without evidence to back it up. If you're a true journalist, you have the evidence, you have the data, you have the statistics to back it up. And so you have the press making its case, just giving you the information with that data. And then you have Trump, who just says things and then his supporters take it as face value. So if there's all this blind trust in Trump, then what good is it? I mean, it is important to do journalism. I'm not trying to minimize that. But in terms of reaching out to these voters.
No, I totally disagree, and I'll tell you why. Okay, no, Anna, look, but that's why I get so frustrated with the mainstream media and why I got so frustrated with Hillary Clinton, the kind of campaign that she ran. Because what do you hear nonstop on cable news? Trump's a bad guy, Russia, he did a bad tweet, and he attacked people, and he shouldn't attack people. Do you hear nonstop about his 6 bankruptcies? Did you hear about all the details of it during the campaign?
No.
No, Hillary Clinton never talked about it. The press never talked about it. That's why I did the Loser Donald series. Because I'm like, isn't anybody going to tell people how incompetent this guy is, that he can't run a business if his life depended on it?
Yeah,
and they never told them. They never told them.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. You're right. And it's not just what happened leading up to Election Day. It's what's happening now. You're right. They do focus too much on things that don't really speak to voters. So I'll give you an example of something that I've been yelling about on No Filter on a regular basis, and no one in the mainstream press talks about this. Everyone pretends like the economy is great. Joblessness is down, everyone's working, everything's great. No, it's not, no, it's not. Look, the stock market artificially inflated. Yeah, there's a low unemployment rate, but wages are super stagnant, they remain stagnant. People are drowning in debt, right? Everyone's talking about the GDP and how it was 4.1% in the last quarter, right? In the last quarter, which is great. But people took out so much debt to actually stimulate the economy and buy products. They don't talk about those things.
And they don't give you context. Look, on almost every one of those issues. So when they passed a tax cut, did you see all over cable news, hey, this does not include getting rid of the hedge fund loophole that Trump talked about nonstop during the campaign? I bet you never saw that on cable news. If you saw it, CNN mentioned it once and then they were done with it. Then they were back to the tweets, and then he doesn't like these kind of people and doesn't like that kind of people. But these folks, look, so to your point, earlier point, Anna, some of them really, really don't know, and some of them do know that he doesn't like X, Y, and Z, and kind of like that about him.
Yeah.
And so the press and Hillary during the campaign accidentally reinforced the things they like about Trump. That he's not a regular politician, he's a regular schmo in a sense, at least his intelligence, right? And that he doesn't like the same people they don't like. But they never told you what a buffoon he is, and how he never delivers on his promises. So by the way, what is a bankruptcy? And it happens to people. I totally get it. I'm not trying to judge, right? But it is not delivering on your promise, in a sense. And it should be heartbreaking. It should be something like as a business person or as a regular person, you should be like, God, I wish that hadn't happened. Instead, Trump goes around and goes, that's a smart business thing to do. That means it's a smart thing to do to screw over people who trusted you, right?
Look, there are obviously different types of bankruptcies. And so there are people, middle-class Americans, working-class Americans who have done everything right, and then they get sick.
Yes.
And because our healthcare system is so screwed up, they go bankrupt, they lose everything. That is very different from someone who was passed on a tremendous amount of wealth from his father and then squandered it in nonsensical investments and bad deals.
When your family's devastated by an illness and you go personally bankrupt, anyone who judges you does not understand the conditions that Americans actually live under. But if you had $200 million given to you by your daddy and like an idiot, you decided to start 3 different casinos in the same city, which then bankrupted each one of them, that's a different story. That's a bankruptcy because you are a terrible, terrible business person. Every one of them, his advisors warned him, why would you start 3 casinos in the same city? They're gonna cannibalize each other and you're paying too high an interest rate. And he's like, I got it. They'll all say Trump on it. So look, pass these videos on to your friends, your family, people who don't know the reality. So because cable news isn't gonna cover it enough. So pass these on to your dad, your mom, your uncle, whoever you think needs to hear the reality of what Donald Trump actually is. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.